Hi again, everybody. This is Chris Conklin once again with the Chanute channel. And anybody that's ever watched television much, flipping through the channels, have come across a variety of different television shows. One of those shows that you may have come across is something relative to ghost hunters, paranormal investigators, these people that go around and try to communicate with spirits and find all kinds of interesting aspects about that kind of a show. And there's several of them out there which have led to movies, they've led to extended television shows, and things like that. Well, today in our studio we're happy to have one of our local groups, and they are the Neosho County Paranormal Investigators. And we thank you for coming in today, and they got a lot of really neat equipment and stuff here that they're going to show us. But before we get into all of that, let's introduce yourselves and where you're at.
My name's Janice Bruner Fries, and I live in the Thayer area.
Right, okay.
And I'm Janice Welch, and I live in the Chanute area.
Okay, and how long ago did you put your group together?
3 years and 5 months.
About 3.5 years ago then. Okay. And what made you decide that you wanted to do this?
I had lost my twin sister 15 years ago. So,
at the same time?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But I had come to Kansas, and I had started going with different teams to see how they were doing things, what kind of equipment they were using, because I wanted to start my own team.
Okay.
So,
so this is something that you saw and you felt like, this is really interesting to me, and you wanted to develop it into a passion?
Right.
Okay.
And it is a passion.
And so your passion is dedication to your twin sisters.
Right. And in fact, it was back the days before Ghost Hunters, we were doing investigations together, just with the old voice recorders and Polaroid cameras. And in San Diego, we hit up all the old missions and the Whaley House and the Star of India. And then after she passed, I had quite a few different things happening that made me believe it was her.
Oh,
so
wow.
it sparked my interest in it again, and so that's why I started it here.
Now, people do say that they have an opportunity, or not necessarily an opportunity, but they can feel the presence of a loved one.
Right.
All of a sudden, something in the room will change, whether it be just something that you can feel, you can smell,
Or signs.
maybe you can hear it, but nobody else can. So you run into that a lot.
Yes. A lot of times, even with our equipment, there could be 8 people in the room and only one person hears. You know, what we don't hear, but a lot of times the voice recorders will pick it up. So it's almost like that was intended just for that one person. So.
Now, do you, when you go out on an investigation, let's just say for the instance, somebody wanted you to come into their home and do an investigation there. Do they have to be present during your
No, they
investigation?
don't, and they don't have to be present, and we give them that option if they want to be there, and if they don't want to. We discourage children because of a lot of our equipment and wires being ran, and because some of the equipment can be kind of scary when it's running, like the SB7 Ghost Box. We have a speaker that is connected to it, and it can be kind of scary to even animals too. So, and then we have things like motion detectors. I've had on a couple of occasions where the homeowner was there, and the motion detector went off, and they went running. So
Yeah.
It can be kind of scary at times. Some of the
Scary, a little interesting. I know that I've watched some of the ghost shows on TV from time to time, and it looks like they get into some pretty hairy situations. I mean, some almost violent.
Yes, I had an experience like that at Missouri State Penitentiary in the women's cell, and it actually came out of there scratched. So, yeah, it can get kind of scary. We're in dark places, dark attics and basements, and yeah, a lot of empty buildings. So,
Now, that doesn't seem to be, I mean, this type of thing has probably been going on for many, many decades.
Right.
What you really didn't hear a lot about it until, I say, within the last 10 years. So, like when the movies Ghostbusters came out and those types of things, do you think that they were driven by this, or was it just something that they thought that they would throw together for a good comedy? How much realism do you see between the movie and what you really did?
I think that like seances and the spirit world have been around for a long time, even like with Houdini, and then also with the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren. They were, to me, the original ghost hunters. They were the ones that I was reading their books before all the shows started coming out. So,
now there's a big difference between what you do and, let's say, The Exorcist.
right.
Okay, probably total 180s. I mean, some people deal with evil spirits, but that's not necessarily what you're trying to do, right?
Well, and I have taken a course. It was a course in demonology, and so if we ever get into those situations, there's certain things we can do to find out whether or not we're dealing with something that needs to be taken care of by somebody other than us. And one of those is deliverance prayers and the rosary. We use the rosary. We do binding with candles. We do saging
and cleansing. If you do the
and cleansing.
Sticks.
And if there's something there and you're conducting any of those rituals, if there's something darker, it would usually show itself in that kind of situation. And that's where, and we actually have a lot of, it's a big network of people in the paranormal community, and if we need somebody that would have to perform like an exorcism, we know who to go to. So, because we know when to stop. We know if it's too much for us, and it's...
That's a good thing to know.
Right.
It's like, be careful what you do. It's kind of like the Ouija board thing. You know, you really be careful what you're doing and how you do it.
And we do have I do have a friend that's an exorcist, and he wants to utilize us in case, because he likes the people to be interviewed and then go out and then do the actual investigation to see whether or not he's needed. A lot of times he'll be contacted first, and he'd rather send us out, do all the investigative part of it, and do the research on, the home, and also interview the client and call him the client. So.
Right. So you do a pre-meeting with people that need your service, so that you understand what it is that they're experiencing,
right,
and know that's how to go in to do your investigation to tackle that specific incident.
Right.
Now, are you actually trying to recreate what they say, or just kind of see if there's any presence?
Just see if there's any presence. But we actually did kind of a recreation, because we had found out several members that had lived in the home at one point in time, and of course they were all passed, but we were kind of recreating scenes in the home to see if that would help spark some of the activity, and it actually did. So
now, where's the scope of your investigation? I mean, do you pretty much centralize it in the southeast Kansas area, or how far do you go?
Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. So we do the 4 states.
Now, do you do it just primarily for individuals, or have companies called and said?
Well, we also we had one company call in Pittsburgh, and it was a very big building. We were actually brought in by the corporate office for that one. But we also do a lot of events, and the events are open to the public. So
like what they have done over at the Safari Museum
the
a couple
Pinfield
times.
Castle, the Belvedere Winery in Liberty, Missouri. The what was the other one? Missouri State Penitentiary.
I would imagine, penitentiaries, mental hospitals, funeral homes, mortuaries, would those be prime areas?
Yes. We even had a bed and breakfast we did several times in Fort Scott, Kansas, and it was right across the street from a big mansion there that had been a funeral home. So
The Brown Mansion.
The Browns
I was going to
Mansion.
ask about the
Yeah.
Brown Mansion in Coffeyville. Have
Yeah,
you-
we did an event there, and I believe we ended up with 26 people for that event. And we did also a toy drive at that time of year too. And we were collecting toys for twins that were in a little town outside of our area.
Yeah, the Brown Mansion has been an attracting point to a lot of paranormal
Yes.
teams. I've seen their work on like the Discovery Channel and the History Channel and things like that. So, were you able to pick up any of the strong?
We were in the basement in the butler's quarters. We actually have an EVP where the lamp was rattling, but there was nobody near the lamp, and the floor was concrete. So, I mean, all the jumping we would do probably down there wouldn't have caused that to happen.
Yeah.
And the smell of the cigar smoke in one of the areas was real prevalent. And in certain meters that we have, measure the EMF, electromagnetic field, and they believe spirits are, caused from that field or part of that field. But what we were feeling was, or what we were seeing on it was the Mel meter and the K2 meter. It seemed to be a certain height, and it was just kind of moving down the hallway. And that was one of the reports of activity that they had in that place. And they think the children are still there. So
Right. Now, earlier before we started the show, we were talking about some facilities and houses here in the Chanute area, and you said you had some really interesting stories about some investigations or some that you've heard about in some of the mansions and old structures here in Chanute.
yes, I've heard stories. We haven't really done a whole lot in Chanute. So we have done some private residence, and in everything that we do, we always keep confidential unless they let us share. But other than that, we keep it. We're real hush hush about it because we don't want it out there and people's children having to go to school and saying, oh,
Well, you live in a haunted house. Yeah.
you guys are crazy because you believe in ghosts, or
Well, and that's just that's another aspect. I mean, the whole debunking.
Right.
There's shows on people who purposely, what
they
they do is try to find evidence or proof that what was found was not it.
right.
And then find another explanation for it.
And that's one thing with me. The team always comes to me with the final okay on all the audio and video. And a lot of times after I go through it, I throw it out. So I'm a real stickler for what I keep and what I don't keep, because we want to be taken seriously, and we don't want anything. A lot of times you'll find out that you'll hear something on an EVP and it was somebody's phone, and the message was sending on somebody's phone, and they think it's an EVP. Or that's another big thing for us. Whenever we're doing EVP sessions, we mark what we're doing when we're talking. If there's a car, if a dog's barking, and everybody's told not to whisper. So, because we don't want that to come up as a whisper. So,
Now, do you have to go? I mean, are there specific courses, programs that somebody goes through to learn the ins and outs on what equipment to use, how to use it, what to look for, and what it means?
not that I know of. At least not in this area. I know in New Jersey, there's a store there, the Ghost Hunter store, and it's ran by Dave Giulio, and he actually has courses like that. But for little towns like this, and I think that's one of the reasons a lot of the different paranormal groups have the events that they plan. They do different jails. There's a team out there, and it's Dusk to Dawn Paranormal, and they primarily do a jail, and they do events there all the time. And then there's Kansas City Paranormal, and they have a building that they primarily do all the time. So they bring the public in for a small fee. You come in and get a lot of times to use their equipment and learn the ins and outs of. A lot of people don't want to do it after a few times because It is hours and hours.
Yeah.
And like we just went and did the Sally House in Atchison, Kansas, and it was a 17-hour investigation, and we got one really good EVP, and we were really happy about that. So you may just go in and get one thing, but
Sometimes you'll stay overnight somewhere and get nothing.
yeah, and
But a lot of background noise outside.
we sit in the dark a lot,
Mhm.
just waiting and listening.
If you had to say you had an ultimate location that you would like to do an EVP or an investigation,
I got it.
it's probably the same one I'm thinking of, but what is it?
The Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado.
Yeah, that would be good. I think even letting people in there.
Oh, yes,
they still do.
They do. And they have big events there all the time. And if you ever go to, it's Everbright, or I know I'm doing some plugs here, but
That's all right. I mean, Jack Nicholson people, come on.
there are several different sites out there that sell tickets to events like that. So, and I can't think of,
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that one. I mean, that was the one that, if I'm right, Stephen King stayed there.
Yes.
And he felt the presence so strong that he wanted to make a movie about his experience, but he would only film it in that hotel.
Right.
And he had to go through a whole lot of red tape to get that done. Is that right?
Right, and he wrote a book, I believe.
The Shining.
Yeah, The Shining. That's right.
Yeah.
He did.
If you're a Stephen King fan, some of his stuff is based on reality, some of it's based on his mind. But he's an incredible writer, and does a lot of really intense things. And most of them seem to be on the bizarre style.
Right.
So, I was thinking that maybe you would kind of go a little bit farther west to San Francisco.
What were you thinking?
The Alcatraz.
Oh, I don't know if they let anybody in there anymore. I know they have. I thought they had tours.
They may have stopped paranormal groups from coming in now. I mean, how many people can get the same thing over and over and over again? I think it is open during the day for regular tours.
And I think you can. I mean, depending on what kind of haunting it is, because we believe there's different types of hauntings, and there's residual where it's just like an imprint in time and it plays over and over and over, like a record player. And then there's the intelligent. Now that can be different every time if it's an intelligent haunt.
Yeah.
And then there's the poltergeist, and a lot of that I believe emanates from the person or from the family.
Well, the movie on that was that they built this house on an Indian burial ground. So it was the spirits of the Indian, which I guess to this day, they made as many precautions as possible not to build in or around anything that was possibly an Indian burial ground. So you feel that that's something that actually is very strong and real?
I believe so. I think so. I think we need to respect that.
There's probably their way of saying they're not real happy with what we've done with their land.
Right. Right.
So, okay, let's talk about some of your equipment. I know that some of it's pretty interesting. So why don't we just start with some of the basics? Like, if somebody didn't really know anything about it, but they were kind of curious, of course, people get these apps on their phones that they can use, and they may or may not be any good, but why don't we talk about some of the stuff that you use?
Okay, we use voice recorders for our EVPs.
Okay, you want to...
Yeah, that is... My voice recorder is right in that corner.
The one that says recorder on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we just...
So this is just like a regular digital recorder?
And we can put it on the computer. Everything we use pretty much when it comes to audio and video, we can transfer it to the computer. And all of our investigations are transferred into their individual files and dated and named.
And do you have multiple
Well, there's other team members that have theirs.
Okay, so each team will have their own.
Yeah, team member.
So that you won't have one here or one on the other side of the room to validate.
And that's what's kind of interesting is we did this one house in Pittsburgh, and we had the voice recorder set up next to an urn of the past husband, and then we had one sitting on the couch, and what we call a disembodied voice, when you actually hear it with your ears and not necessarily on the recorder. And so where we heard it, we thought that recorder sitting next to the urn where we heard the voice, we thought it would have been picked up on that recorder. It actually wasn't picked up on that recorder. It was picked up on the recorder sitting on the couch.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's different. It's
Just a kind of a displacement.
yeah. So, or we weren't hearing it, you know, like we thought we were hearing it.
Okay.
That is a full spectrum camera.
Okay, what does that mean?
It will take pictures in the dark and a different spectrum of light than what
Looks like just like a regular...
yeah. In fact, they
camera.
are a regular camera, but they've been modified by the ghost hunter shops. So they,
Like some kind of a special lens on
yeah,
it?
I think they take something out of it, is what they do.
So when you take a picture on it, probably most of it's just black or dark? And
Well,
then-
and the thing is, we use with that, this has its own little stand and everything, but I normally will have a team member walk around with me, and this is an IR light. And when it lights up, it's just see these little red lights in there. Looks like absolutely nothing to us, but it's a light source for that camera.
Just like an
so-
IR camera?
Right, right.
Okay.
So, and a lot of the IR cameras have the lights set up in the camera or next to the camera on a base.
Now,
but
is this something that could actually mount to a camera as well, or?
no, this was
Oh, so
actually,
this is for the battery?
yeah,
And then it sits on its own?
right, and then have a little tripod for it
Is that
too.
on? Can you see this? Can you see it? It's on. I'm seeing you. No? Okay. So really it only works in the dark.
Right,
Okay.
and then we also have right here laser grids.
This one here?
Yep, and those are, we set those up, and if there's any type of movement in front of those grids in the dark,
Oh, okay. Like a laser pin with different
right.
specialized
And we have a special little stand for that
Tips,
too. We'll put the grid in there,
uh-huh.
and it will keep it on for you, so you don't have to stand there and get a paper clip or whatever.
Okay. You can kind of see that there with all the different lenses or the different what do you call these pieces?
Yeah, I'm trying to think on the spot.
Yeah, they just kind of disseminate the light in a different
Right.
different formats.
Yeah,
So they
some
can
of
be
them are
either-
like stars, and some of them are not hearts, but diamonds, and
And this one is just the pin.
yeah, they're both two they're both the same.
They're both the same.
Yeah.
This box has all of the tips.
Yeah, one came from, one was a gift, so, and this one came from Okinawa, am I saying it right? Okinawa?
Japan?
Yeah, from my stepson.
made
This
in
is a
Japan?
Christmas, yeah, it was a Christmas gift.
Okay. Danger. Laser radiation. Made in China.
Well, we don't hold on to them, so that's why we have the,
Well, I imagine you just don't want to sit there and look into what's in there, you know. And then you won't be seeing much anything. anymore.
no. But they are pretty neat in the dark. So, and like I
Okay.
say, and if something passes in front of it, and that's where sitting and waiting becomes so important, because if you have that set up and no one's watching it,
And something passes and you
it's
won't
not
see
gonna,
it.
yeah, unless we have the night vision camera.
So have you actually had these activated and something passed through them?
Yeah, actually, there was a house in Neosho Falls where we were seeing movement in front of it, and then also when we were at the haunted asylum in Chitopa, which were really sad, burned down. So that was a pretty active place. And it was a Halloween attraction, but before that it was also a nursing home. So you could imagine how many people passed through that place, or deaths, spirits
Right.
passed, or...
Yeah. Okay. And as we move down the line with a lot of equipment in here, we have.
These are our SB7 ghost boxes, and I have I had one of them, but then we did the Browns Mansion, and we had 26 people. Well, people were fighting over the ghost box, so I decided I was going to get 2 of them. That way, we didn't have to worry about just divvying up the one and having, you know, we want everybody to be happy. So, and we do events quite a bit. So, and that way there's more than one, but it's white noise. There's a lot of radio frequencies. We prefer to run it with the antenna down because we don't want to pick up the radio stations. We'd rather just have the white noise. And if a spirit is going to communicate over this, it has to go through all those frequencies to even form a word. So, and I have a really good voice box session on our Facebook page, and it just happened a couple weeks ago, and it's already at like 19,000 views. So
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty good. But it is just white noise.
And then out of that,
And
there you could get voices or
yeah, you got to go
different
through.
sounds.
I pick my sweep, and that's my favorite sweep. I know this so well now that I know exactly where my favorite sweep is. So, but it takes a while to learn that. In fact, when everybody wants to use the box, they come to me because they know where I'm going to set the sweep, or that I know how to set the sweep. So,
And when you say sweep, what is that? What does that
it
mean?
sweeps through all the different radio stations. Okay.
Like a scanner?
Yeah. Let me see if I can. See, that's a different sweep.
Okay.
Okay, now I'll go back to the one I like. That's the one I.
Different tone.
I'm already hearing things coming across this. So, and one thing about these, they're low. They weren't designed real good. I don't believe they were. So we have a speaker, and these are what you see on Ghost Adventures. Zach uses this all the time, and his speaker is round though. Ours is this little blue one here.
This is the speaker. Right
Yeah,
here.
that's the speaker.
Now, will you have this on while you're actually in the room scanning, or?
Yes, we will plug it
That's
in,
pretty slick.
and I don't know if I got any chargers.
That choppiness, that's
Right. Well, and I keep hearing something come through here, but considering what building we're in, that could be.
that could be anything. Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of our favorite pieces of equipment is the ghost box. And in fact, there is one lady in the paranormal community. She did a episode on Animal Planet, and it has to do with the SB7 ghost box. Her name's Jenny Stewart. She's very interesting, and her team is very interesting, and they're really well known in the paranormal community. So she'd be someone to check out if you were wanting to learn about the ghost box. So
So some people are more expert in certain devices.
Devices.
And then that's what they focus on, is just doing their skill.
right, and there's like I say, there's so many new pieces of equipment that are coming out. There are, at one time you had the hack boxes that were the ghost boxes that were from Radio Shack, and they were a ghost box. And now they're coming out with different types of apps. They're coming out with the Echo Box and the Echo Box and these things that look like almost like toasters. they look like they have all these. I don't know. They're interesting, but it's different people out there, and they are designing different pieces of paranormal equipment. And one of our favorite designers is Digital Dowsing, and it is Bill Chappell, and he does a lot of the Ghost Adventures pieces of equipment, and that's what this right here is. It's one of our favorite pieces. And we also have our different meters. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with this, and I just totally lost it. This measures EMF, electromagnetic fields.
Okay, now a device like that we did see in Ghostbusters.
Right.
Okay, so
Well, I
they
don't-
were tuning it into the strength of where that.
And I, to be honest with you, I never really watched
You never
that
saw the movie?
So that's not what fueled me, it was Ghostbusters.
But at least they used a piece of equipment that
Right.
was somewhat, accurate in that regard.
And that's another EMF meter.
And this one's actually just the meter part of it.
Yeah, and this one actually has a sensor to it, and you plug in to the side, and it will help you find, the electromagnetic fields. And but it measures a different type of electromagnetic field. I'm trying to get it out. Because there are different fields. This over here is our gauze meter. This is one of our favorite. And if you go into a home, we do base readings. You'll go all around and you see where you're actually getting your fields from. And a lot of times it's from or from microwaves or from alarm clocks, and so when you want to know where your base readings are, what is giving off what.
Yeah,
Before
hot
you-
spots,
yeah.
overhead power lines. And
Right.
anything
Or
like
in the
that.
floor. A lot of times, it's, your meters will be going off, but the closer you go to the floor, it's going all the way to the red, and you know that it's probably the wiring.
Yeah.
Or you'll have your electrical boxes, and some of them are shielded better than others, and there's a lot of homes that they realize once we come in there, they're not shielded very well.
Yeah,
So,
kind of like when a microwave gets activated.
Right.
These things will go crazy.
and it can make people, sick. It can make people. They say they can even have hallucinations if your electric magnetic field is too high in your home. So, but a lot of these were designed for people that do electrical work. So
they can figure out exactly where their lines are and
Right.
how much power's coming through there. Interesting.
And
We don't
then-
have anything in here to make it go off, so I guess ghosts are not attracted to light.
And I was going to say, when it comes to light, a lot of people think we have to investigate in the dark, and that's not necessarily true. A lot of activity happens in the daytime just as much as it does at nighttime. It's just a lot of our pieces of equipment pick up better in darkness than they do in light. So, but I've been to places in broad daylight that had a lot of activity. And there was one place in Fort Scott, and I don't want to say the name of the place because they don't like ghost hunters there, but I think you could probably imagine the place. And there was a lot of activity there, and they don't even want you bringing equipment into the to the place. So, but this one is one of my favorite. This is a millimeter. It's electric, and it picks up on the electric magnetic field also. But this was designed by a man who designed this after his daughter died. And the Mel on it is for his daughter, and that was, I believe it was Michelle. And then the 87 was the year she was born on it, and the 04 was the year she died. She had died and she'd hit a tree. And so they had a lot of things happening in their home after she passed. In fact, one of their episodes of Ghost Adventures is just on that home, the family. And so this is kind of a sentimental piece to me, not because of the story about her. So, and he's designed a lot of other pieces of equipment too.
And how do you use that? I mean, what does it do?
It will measure the electric magnetic field too. You want your sensor in there, and these are pricey, so you want to protect your sensor when you're putting it away. That's why I have a little spot for it, because you don't want to bend or break it. And I believe just one of these little pieces here is $12, $13. So, but it monitors your temperature and your field. If anything, usually it comes up on this. It's a pretty good indication that you've got some spiritual activity going on.
Except for the temperature of the room.
Except to the temperature of the room, which
Even though it's kind of getting cooler as we go.
yours is kind of, it is, isn't it? They went like from 80 to 76. Are there any spirits here?
We're just in the cool part of the room.
I don't know about that. It went all the way down to 80 something to 75 already, so.
Or maybe it just takes a little while to get normalized, like a thermometer or something like that.
And we do sessions, and like with the ghost box, we'll ask questions, and with the voice recorder, we'll ask questions. And we ask them to manipulate our equipment in certain ways. And that's one thing the Mel is good for. We were in a shower in the Missouri State Penitentiary in the men's area where apparently there had been a lot of stabbings. And we were asking questions. We had Adam Berry from Ghost Adventures with us in there, and we were asking certain questions and asking it to manipulate the Mel meter, and it was going higher and higher. It was like 1.2 and then 2.2 and then 4.2. We got it all the way up to the 10 point something. It was pretty, so.
Very strong readings.
Yes, that was really strong.
Now, when you get a strong reading, we talked earlier in the show about feeling that presence. does that have any association when it gets to a certain reading? You can feel something happening, or
Oh, yeah,
could that be psychological?
No,
or-
and I believe, because a lot of us will have, your hair stand up on your arms, or
Which
you
is
get
one of the more common.
or you
things
get the
people-
cobweb effect. It feels like cobwebs.
Yeah.
And for me, I get physically, it affects me. The team members have learned that whenever I start getting really bad cramping in my feet, and my toes will go in different directions. Yeah, it's pretty intense. In fact, when we were in Chitopa, it wasn't only just happening to me, it was happening to another team member. People talk about being sensitive. I believe I'm sensitive, but I don't know if I want to label myself as a sensitive or an empath or anything like that. But there's definitely physical things start happening. I've had people that were normally just really laid back and easygoing, and then become their whole personality changed. So if we see something like that happening to somebody in an area or on an investigation, we'll remove them completely from the investigation until they're doing better and bring them back.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we'll see if it happens again. So, but there's a lot that, we do a lot of correlation. There has to be a lot going on with different things before we actually will deem it paranormal. And we had that happen at a home just recently, and it was in Chanute. And we had the night vision camera going, and I don't normally go with the orb thing because of the light on dust. But if I can see it travel, then I will a lot of times consider it as an orb. But if I can't see the way it's traveling, then I a lot of times will throw it out. But this orb was on the arm of the couch, and it just went onto the floor and across the floor and into the bedroom. Well, at the same time, on the SLS camera, which maps out anomalies or spirits as the little stick figures. And it was like a little stick figure about the size of a child, and it was on the arm of the couch, got down onto the floor, crawled away from, out of the room and into the bedroom. At the same exact time, it was being picked up on the night vision camera.
Wow.
So they correlated, so that we considered a good piece of evidence. Sometimes and sometimes we may not even get it filmed. There might be a glitch, but if we can get more than one person witnessing it, then, we'll keep it as a piece of evidence. Because there's been times where things were forgot, you think you're recording and you're not. And that happens. And
So there's a lot of time spent after investigation
Yes.
as well, because then you have to go through
all of it, hours.
real time.
Right.
And trying to listen to what you captured, watch the video, and then if you think there's something, then you have to go back and validate it with all your
Right.
pieces of equipment. And that could get a little bit challenging in itself, because you don't necessarily have everything time-coded to sync together, saying when that event occurred. or
And that's
anything
why
like that.
it is important, because you can do stamps on your voice recorder. There's timestamps on the SLS. You can do you can see the time on the camera too. So,
Right.
and it's good if you see something to mark it, verbally mark it,
Right.
so you know where to go back to.
Yeah, so if you're in a room, you'll say what time it is, what day it is, what room you're in, what part of the room.
Right.
All that kind of thing.
Right. And it's good for, you to get it on all the pieces of equipment.
Okay.
So-
So now let's get into the more expensive and fun stuff, as I would call it.
Yeah, this is the SLS. This is, like I was saying, Bill Chappell's invention.
So it looks kind of like a modified tablet.
Yeah, and it's interesting. In fact, I have a little glitch with it right now. I'm hoping my son okay, he did, charged it up, but I believe the sensor isn't working. You can pull this off, it's all Velcro, and you just pull this off, and this sensor goes from here to here, and I'm hoping it's just this piece that needs to be replaced, because they do have it on the digital dowsing site. But you just putting in my passcode, and because this sensor, this one here, it's not working, is what measures my temperature, my depth, my heat.
So
And
now there's a whole bunch of wave
Yeah.
functions that are going through it.
but it's-
So then you can look for differences in the acoustics of the room as well as the temperatures, and you can.
it's trying to,
And what is that called again?
an SLS.
Okay. And it's designed and built by a professional ghost hunter?
Yes, and I believe he's more of an inventor. If you look Bill Chappell up,
So he kind of like figures out what people need to sense and get what they're looking for, and then he'll develop a piece of equipment that can do that.
yes, and right now it's not working. I don't know if
That's,
it's all
that's always the way it is. Yeah,
It could be all the lights in here too. Yeah.
yeah, it is kind of bright.
That's what it is. I think it's the lighting.
When you get it out of the direct bright lights, and of course we can turn the little lights off, and then we'll be in the dark. Oh wow!
Yeah. And the figures will, I don't know if your camera can see that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really.
yeah, a little bit. That's kind of so you would sense if those items that you picked up, which is our studio cameras and some stuff in the background, if they moved, you would actually see that movement.
Right, and what it'll do when it picks up an anomaly, because I have it.
And I saw that it picked up stuff all the way in the back of the studio, way back there, and you can see that as well, and which is totally dark back there.
And I think what happened was my son put it upside down. I think this is supposed to be like that.
So these are two separate pieces.
Yes.
So now, will that work with any?
No, this is
It's
just
specially designed
For
tablet to
that.
work just with that.
Right.
So it comes as a kit.
right. And when what it'll do it'll map. It'll start saying anomaly, and it'll start mapping out the anomalies. Like it'll map you out if you were standing in front of it. But then it'll map things out that we don't see.
So like if you were to point it towards our monitor over there, it probably won't like that too much. It kind of washed it out, didn't it?
See the anomaly there?
Okay, now
Anomaly
I got it now.
detected.
It's changing colors on a lot of stuff. So now it's picking up differences.
Right.
So the far, that's studio light, then the camera, then the monitor, and another camera. So they're all matching up as the same color now.
Right. And if it maps out a spiritual anomaly, a lot of times it's a stick figure. But we had one in a house in Chanute, and it looked like the little child sitting on the toilet. And it looked like a mother standing next to it.
Oh,
Then
you just missed that.
did it
Yep. So,
to pick him up?
yeah, that wasn't a stick figure. That was a whole. Yeah, that's something you don't want to see right there.
But it picked up the child sitting on the toilet and the mother standing next to it, and that went on for a while, and then it jumped off the toilet, went to the sink, and the mother was right next to it, and then it just disappeared.
Let's see if we can get that on to show up on the camera again.
Oh, on this
Probably
camera?
lose it as soon as you point it away. Oh, there, you can see it. And the different things that it'll.
And there's a lot of film off of this on the Paranormal site that shows.
We
the
had a
stick
pretty fun
figures.
one
Yeah.
at an old farm,
Let's see.
and I don't know how well that's on there, but I think it is.
Hold it tight. So there we go. Now you can see a lot of the different.
And this is on Ghost Adventures. Zach used it just recently,
Okay.
and on the Sally House episode.
Mm-hmm. So as I turn it around the different parts of the room, it's going to sense different things. And I better not see anybody walking behind me.
And that's a good place too, the Atchison Sally House. You can go in and do investigations through the Atchison Chamber of Commerce. Just get a hold of them and they'll set you up. It's a little pricey, but it's worth it. And the overnight investigations are 17 hours. So you,
That's pretty well overnight.
yeah, you're there.
And you're sitting in a room for hour after hour after hour.
And that basement is pretty, and the nursery's pretty creepy, and the basement, so.
And I know what I would imagine. You know, I've been on a few of these myself. I don't really know exactly what I'm doing, but to the point where, yeah, you mentioned that creepy feeling, and you start getting yourself creeped out. And it's like when you got to think to yourself, okay, calm down, just relax, you know, because then your mind can go crazy.
And I tell you about doing the graveyard with Gene. That was one of those instances because you could just feel it, like it was in the bushes. And the motion detector was going off, and it was sitting up on top of the truck. And, I mean, there was nothing there. We were so far away from the motion detector. But one of the reports of activity is, you know, something putting the handprints on the vehicles. And so that was, that's one of those times when you could feel the creep factor. Sally House, too.
So now the spirits, you know, everything seems to be driven off of electricity, you know, magnetic forms of one thing or another, but we're not dealing with a chemical compound, we're dealing with an electrical compound, or the elements thereof. So they're going to feed off of the batteries.
Oh, yes.
And everything in your equipment.
Right.
So have you ever had an experience
where everything was dying? Yes.
Yeah, you got a fully charged battery that you know for good and well normally it lasts 3 to 5 hours, and it's just drained.
Right.
With no warning.
And we had that happen when we were at the Sally House. We went in August, and we went in May. And when we weren't there in May, and both times we were there, it was thunder and lightning and raining.
That's the elements of it.
Yeah, and the first time it almost chased us out of the basement because of the water that was filling up in the basement so quickly. But we had the motion detector. We had it set up facing away from us in what they call the portal. And so we had that go off at the same time. One of my investigators, he lost an hour and 45 minutes worth of his filming just all of a sudden. It just disappeared off his camera.
Did it erase this tape or something?
Yeah, it did. And then we had an app going. It was the Echo Box, and it was going crazy. And the person who designed that, I explained to him what was going on. He goes, it doesn't do that. Well, it was doing it during it, but all these things correlate. I mean, it happened all at the same time. At the same time.
Okay, and then you have this handheld. It says EV4 on it.
Yes, this is my my thermal imager.
Oh, it is thermal.
Yes, and that was as expensive as that one.
I was just saying, we're getting into the high dollar toys here.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Well, they say the difference between men and boys, but they forgot about us girls, too, so.
Well, it's the new era, you know.
So, yeah, every time I get on a site, I'm like, I want that, but I have to control myself. But sometimes that's hard.
Now, will that record, too, or is it just...
This one doesn't, and I wish I would have went a little higher and got one. But somebody told me that actually it could possibly be modified to do that, but I don't know how to do that. So, because, I mean, I'm not sure what...
If it has a line out or anything?
Yeah, that's all you got there. And then there's nothing else. And
Well,
that's just...
basically just kind of like...
Well, that's just...
Well, there's a port there.
Yeah, I don't know if you could do it from that port or not.
What's
that's
that port used for?
For charging.
Oh. Then probably not.
So, yeah. But, this is good. I got this one because I wanted, when we were getting ready to do Missouri State Penitentiary, I was like, I'm going to see it if it's living or if it's dead with this. And you do. In fact, we were all excited, and we had it pointed up on, we were in A Hall, and it was pointed up at the 3rd tier, and we had it on a cell, and we're like, oh, we were all excited. We thought it was a ghost, and we see a person come walking out of that cell. So
does that come up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It might
Okay.
show
Yeah.
on
So
your,
the blue is cool, and
and you can go different colors. You
the
can go black
brighter-
and white.
I don't know if you can see that or not. Wait, hey, there's me. Just one of me right now. There we go. See?
Oh, and it will
It's
take
X-ray.
photos.
That takes
It will,
photos?
yeah. You just click it, and it will take a picture of you.
Yeah, get there, camera. Oh, I got funny looking jawbones.
Did it
So
take it?
I think so.
Let's see. Yep, took the picture.
Now, I say there's the temperature readings over
Yeah.
on the side.
The cold is at the bottom, the heat
So
at
we're
the top.
ranging from 90 degrees to 65-ish in here.
Yep.
Obviously, higher. Well, there's a lot of electrical and stuff up there too. So
I live out in the country and I have animals, pets. And a lot of times I hear the coyotes and I get very nervous. I just take my flare out there and I can figure out where all my cats and dogs are.
So this is a lot like what similar devices that the fire department has.
Yes.
So that
Theirs
they
are
can
more
sense where the hot
expensive.
spot of a
Yes.
fire is.
Yes, in fact, I can see all the electrical in my place too with this. So
So you can see where the hot spots are and stuff. Interesting.
I was looking for plugs.
Plugs, just pick
But
one.
you can see all the heat off your different cameras.
Well, those are off and it's interesting because these are low energy or high energy but low heat
Bulbs.
studio lights, and you can tell that there's a lot of blue around it, so they're
Yeah.
not putting out a lot of heat. The green screen is not really hot, but I think it's probably because it's. Well, there's something on the floor. Well, there's your electrical.
Right.
There's an electrical down there.
We have a really good video on YouTube, and it's called Ghost Cat. And the thing that was interesting about the Ghost Cat, it was picking up the heat of like a human would be,
Yeah, kind of like what it's seeing there. You. So wave to the camera.
Which one?
There you go. Okay. Get that back to you.
But this
Rickett.
is fun, and a lot of times on our investigations, when the men come, you know, I kind of divvy out my equipment, let everybody take some because can't carry it all by myself.
Yeah.
And the men usually go for this one.
Of course.
This is the one they
Everybody
want.
wants that one.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I would think
Especially
you'd
the
have to
men.
have several of those. Because I think I would rather play with that than the EVP one.
yeah, this is fun. And especially when you get outside too, it's a lot of fun.
Now, do you have, speaking of temperature, I know they make these laser temperature guns.
Yes, I
where
don't
you
have
can
one.
point in the laser and then it'll give you the temperature of wherever that laser hit.
Yeah, I don't have one of those.
You don't have one of those?
No.
Okay, that's probably one of the least expensive items that you would have. Huh?
Yeah, and I did have, temperature, different types of temperature gauges, but because of pieces of equipment like this and the Mel meter has the temperature on it, I didn't really feel that I needed it anymore.
Sure.
A lot of money is being spent right now. We're working on an event. Well, it's an event that's happening in Mineral Wells, Texas, and we're one of the sponsors that is going to be there. We're going to have our own table, and we're thinking of going with cleansing and items, sage and stones and.
So that does bring up a very interesting topic there is items. And I know that the Safari Museum
Undo that one.
here in town
Under there.
has some artifacts that actually possess spirits in the artifact itself.
Yeah, I remember a creepy doll that was like made with
There
human.
was a doll that they have sealed up.
Yeah.
I think they got a mask in that had some spirits in it, and they actually had to go back to Africa and find an expert to interpret the language that they were recording on, and then figure out how to get it to settle down because it was scaring everybody. And I guess from my understanding, is this expert in Africa, where this mask would have originated from, spoke in the language that the mask would understand and told it to knock it off.
Oh,
And they said anytime it starts doing this again, just play this
Just-
tape and it'll settle down. And they did it a couple times and they haven't heard it since.
really?
Yep. So whatever it told them, that's
Yeah,
it.
that's a very interesting building, for
But,
sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stories in there. That might be one of those that if you haven't gone through yet.
Yeah, I went with a team, I think they were from out of Kansas City, and a couple of local ladies went through there, and
They bring a team up from Topeka. Well, that's not really the Kansas City area, but yeah, they have connections in Topeka.
yeah, I did one investigation with them with one night, and it was kind of funny. I think the name came up on their Ovilus. I think it was Bill, and that was the name of the lion that was on the wall.
Yeah, well,
So-
and then the thing about the Safari Museum is actually located in the old Santa Fe Depot.
Right.
And so in one part of the building, there is what they think is an old engineer that's carrying around a lantern, which they used to use to signal the trains in. And the movement that they have actually captured in there is best emulated going back to people that could attest to the depot as far back as they can find. That movement that they were picking up emulates where the workers would go to get their paycheck.
Oh.
So they think that maybe something happened to that engineer or that person before he got paid, and he's still looking for his paycheck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a pretty active building. I do. And then there was all the, what did they call the girls that would work? Harvey girls.
House girls.
Yeah. I was thinking Murphy. Harvey. And it was one of those.
Oh yeah, Hardy Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I think Chanute has got a lot of interesting tales.
Yes.
Um,
And old
I know that
buildings.
when I look at the history, I'm a nostalgia buff, not necessarily historical, but I like nostalgia. And through some of my research about Chanute, I guess at one time they used to have ghost tours that ran through Chanute.
Did you ever hear that? I haven't been here.
And
real
somebody
long.
was telling me that they used to have kind of like an open top bus, kind of like the English style
okay.
buses, the double decker with the open top, and they would drive around and then they would have a talkie explaining all these different.
Yeah, there was a lot of old.
Yeah. So I'm sure that there'll be a lot of interesting places to visit. And you got a lot of stories and things. Now you had mentioned that you could attest to stories and validate some of them, and I know that there has been a lot of renovation in some of these buildings,
Right.
and
That
when they
sparks
completely
it.
got the building out, they exposed themselves to a lot of things.
Right.
And there have been workers that have found themselves in these buildings with no electricity, and all of a sudden their boom box kicks off with no batteries in it and no electricity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's about the time I'd be saying, I'm out of here.
Yeah. It's when a lot of times you lose your workers. They don't,
Yeah.
They're not going to come back.
Or they're not going to go in there by themselves anymore.
Right. Right.
We did an investigation where there had been a murder and everybody got headaches and it just felt like our balance was off. And the motion detector did go off there, and that was before we got this.
Just be careful with that one.
Yeah, I will. And I think had we had this,
We might have
we
got
might
more.
have really seen some pretty neat stuff. But everybody that was in there just felt like their equilibrium was.
Yeah, and it almost felt like
off.
somebody punched you in the nose, the pressure in your face.
And I've heard people say, you mentioned equilibrium. I've heard people say that they start feeling nauseous all of a sudden.
Right.
Just a very strong nauseous feeling.
Right, right. And we've experienced that a lot of different places.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just all of a sudden you get a really bad headache. And
Well, I mean, your body is full of a
You
lot
wanna
of
grab that
electrons and stuff.
This?
So,
Yeah.
so that is your night vision camera.
and yes, and I think we've kind of shut ourselves off to a lot of that, those feelings.
Desensitized yourself.
Yes, and I think children are they pick up on it, and animals do too.
Animals
And-
especially.
Yes, and that a lot of times, in fact, one of the last investigations we did, we were watching the cats because the cats were seeing something we weren't seeing, and real skittish, and yeah, that a lot of times your pet and a young child is a pretty good indication of there's something going on. So, I need a battery.
So this is what you record your activity on.
Right.
And this works in the dark.
Yes, and I have a tripod for it.
Uh-huh.
That's why that's on there. I normally pull that off.
It's nice that technology has taken us to a point that's so solid state where you can have something that compact that is so powerful.
It is.
Because
And
that actually records to a hard drive and the camera, correct?
right. Well, yes.
Yeah.
And then, why am I having difficulty? Because I have it upside down. There we go.
Doesn't want to be connected.
There we go. And this, like I said, I have a tripod for this. I like to film with the tripod just so we don't have any movement. And the audio on this is awesome. A lot of times I get more EVPs, you know, and for people that don't know what EVP is, that's electric voice phenomenon. We pick up the voices. Like when we were at the Sally house, I have a really good one on my phone. I'll even let you listen to it, and they might be able to even hear it here. But that's what it looks. We can do the night vision, and
And once again, we're seeing stuff all the way over on the other side of the studio.
And
It's totally dark.
And you can zoom in. And the
You just
IR
kinda
light's good for
let it
this
see the
too.
whole
So,
setup, yeah.
but we were out in the woods not too long ago, and had it not been for this, I wouldn't even have known where I was walking.
Yeah, let's see if we can get something behind this. Well, actually, this will turn. There we go.
Right.
Okay, so you can kind of see what she's talking about. This is all the way in the back side of the studio, which to my naked eye, I can't see anything, but I think a lot of that has to do with the bright lights. But then as we come back forward, you see the TV cameras and that kind of thing. So that looks like one of our chairs back there. So far we don't have anything moving, so that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So, all right.
And we have all our videos on the Facebook. Like I said, if you saw anything on there that you were interested in, be more than, you know, go for it. I mean, you could, that's we put them out there for the public, and we also have a YouTube channel, and it's NCPI/ I believe Neosho County Paranormal. But this was the one at the Sally house, and if you listen, we're talking to. Oop, I can stop it.
That's all right.
Okay.
Let's see if we can.
That right there.
A little child's voice
Yeah.
saying hi.
We have had so many people.
And there weren't any children in the...
Yeah, we have had so many people saying different things they thought it said. So, and I
To
need.
me, it sounded like a little girl said
Yeah,
hi.
and it was right next to the voice recorder because we were kind of out in the hallway and we're taking photos and talking about time lapses, and so you could hear my investigator Mike's voice and my voice, and we're quite a ways away. And whatever made that sound was right next to the night vision because it was so clear. And like I say, that night vision camera, we've got some of our best EVPs off of that. We did a bed and breakfast in Fort Scott, and the proprietor, she passed away a year before from cancer, and we were leaving the attic, and we heard audibly with our ears, but it also picked up there and it said James, and James was one of my investigators. Well, we played it back for the owner that was the owner at the time. And he goes, oh, yes, that was definitely, and I won't say the lady's name, but he says, that was her. So, and that was picked up on that. Now, I haven't gone, and I got to admit, I haven't gone through everything that we got on this, but that's where this one came from, was from that.
Oh, okay.
That clip. So we've got 4 investigations that we need to go through.
Got a lot of...
But a lot of us, we go, as soon as we get back from investigation, it's back to work.
Yeah.
So, and I also take care of my dad who has dementia, so, and been living with him 6 years, so a lot of times spent with him in his care, so.
Yeah.
But.
So now, you've been at this here in Neosho County for the last 3.5 years.
Right.
How did you come up on your name, the NCPI?
Well, I noticed when I came to Kansas, because I'm from San Diego, but I've been here 10 years, so I feel like I'm a Kansan now. But I noticed that Kansas is all about their counties. You know, there's Bourbon County, Neosho County.
True.
And then I also knew that there was like Neosho, Kansas, or Neosho, Missouri. I don't know if they're in Neosho, Kansas.
Yeah.
But I also knew that if I picked Neosho County, anybody that Googled that for anything in Neosho County, we would pop up too. So I thought it would be a good way to get us out there. So, and a lot of people say I was just, you know, Googling Neosho, something for Neosho County Courthouse or Neosho this, and there you popped up. So
now you're a nonprofit group.
Right.
How do you get your funding, or does everybody just kind of chip in?
I chip in.
You chip in. Yeah, kind of like this. My mom calls this a very expensive hobby.
Yeah.
So.
And on that question, though, we are nonprofit, but there has been times where somebody has offered some money for gas, or we did a restaurant and they paid for our beverages and they paid for and they gave us a donation, and so coffee and cookies is very welcome. We will never turn that down, you know,
especially on a 17-hour overnighter. You're gonna need some
or
snacks
Pepsi
and coffee,
or Coke, or anything caffeinated. We're good. So, but no, it's just overtime and just getting one piece of equipment after another, and I'm not done. I have a big wish list.
Yeah.
There's more, and there's more equipment too. You said bring some of it, so I brought some of it, but I utilize like iPads and other things too. I have a computer. We want to get into getting our own night vision set up with the DVR system.
I was going to ask you about, do you have a DVR with the night
We did.
camera?
We had at one time a team member that had that,
Had one.
but she's not on the team anymore. So, but we seem to do real good with what we got. And then when we got this, and I still got it
Oh,
running.
you're still running.
Yeah, when we got this, we were able to film. You're able to film, transfer the film,
And that records what, like on a mini SD card? Yeah, I see it right there.
And my son, and that's where my son comes into a lot of this. He, whenever I come back, he takes all our audio and video.
Let me see that one more second. This is your home page.
Yes.
If you can kind of see that there. Now, so when you go to
Facebook, it's Neosho County
Facebook,
Paranormal Investigators.
or your website, right? Now,
Yes.
who designed this?
That actually was one of the investigations we did at the Pythian Castle.
I was going to say, it looks like an insane asylum.
Yeah, it's the Pythian Castle in Liberty, Missouri, and I gave it to a co-worker, and her husband did the graphic on it.
That's pretty
and
wicked.
that was in the beginning, and we've kept that. And also, we have the twins on the jacket in memory of my twin sister.
Fill that real quick. So, the hoodie.
Yeah.
Now you have the
zip-up-
sweatshirts.
Zip-up hoodies, pullovers, T-shirts.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. And I was keeping warm to this a while ago. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I picked the
So-
creepy twins for my twin who, like I said, passed 15 years ago.
Now,
So
if
we-
somebody wants more information on your group, or they need your service, or they just want to learn more or be part of a group, what do you have for advice for them?
Well, I would seek out a team, established team, and like I say, a lot of times they will let you come along on an investigation. We've helped start other teams. To date, we've helped start 2 other people form their own teams.
Now, how many people does it take to really form a good? Are you looking for 4 to 6? I mean, it's not something that you just go out with a friend and do.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that there's only 2 of them. It's easier sometimes if you don't have to deal with a lot of different personalities.
That's true.
It's taken a long time to form the relationships that I have with the team. I try to pick a team where all of our personalities are going to mix well, and I'm the boss.
And they understand that.
Yeah, and even though I'm 4'11", I'm still the boss. I try to be fair, and I really try hard to keep any kind of drama out of the the mix, but something, we're females.
Yeah.
But we do this for fun. This is it's my passion, but it's also an outlet. We're out there helping people. We get a lot of people that are just scared.
They want to know what's going on in their
really
building
scared.
or their house or something like that.
Yeah, and they're like, the first thing they say to me is either, you're not going to believe this, or you're going to think I'm crazy. And I always say, first, I don't think you're crazy, and I do believe it. So, because they don't know where to go, or they see the page and they're like, wow, I've had trouble for a long time, and I didn't have anyone to talk to, and all my family members think I'm crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people will think you're crazy until they come in and they experience the same thing. So
yeah, then they think they're crazy.
Yeah, and I believe that, we are all spirits, either in the human form or once we leave the human form, we're still out there.
Sometimes these spirits can get stuck someplace. And
Yes, I think so.
Like a tortured soul.
Yes.
So now, how you have the Facebook page,
Right.
So if they just type in NCPI,
I would put in Neosho County.
Neosho County, and then you'll pop up in Facebook search.
Yes.
That way.
Yes.
And then you do have a website.
Yes, and it's Neosho County Paranormal. It's all one word .com.
Neosho County Paranormal, all one word spelled out, and
.com.
.com.
And it's all lowercase.
Okay.
So, and but if anybody really wants to get a hold of me, needs any help, or is interested in starting their own team, the best place to get me is through the messenger on Facebook.
Okay.
So, because it's I'm trying to keep up with the website too. I had someone taking care of that, and I'm getting ready to have someone take over that, but he's all the way in Tennessee, so.
Now, with all these groups all over the place, do you guys share technology, share information? If you come across something you don't understand, is there
yes.
people that you could send that to and they'll evaluate it for
Yes, we do, and
you? Share the information?
yeah, a lot of, and that's one thing. One of our logos or whatever is Para-Unity. We try to, as a paranormal community, everybody help each other and share and collaborate and do different investigations with each other. And in fact, a lot of these paracons, like the one we're doing in Mineral Wells, Texas, December 4th through the 6th, they're going to have a celebrity panel. But a lot of the people, when they get together for those, they don't get to see their paranormal friends in person until one of these events.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times when you're going to these events, you're getting, it's almost like a home, a reunion.
A reunion, finally meeting these people you've been talking to for so long.
Or get to see them again, so.
Well, that's good.
Because like with Amy and Adam from Ghost Hunters and Steve from Ghost Hunters, and we did one with Haunted Collector, John Zaffins, I can't even say his name right. You get to see them again. You won't see them until you do an event, and then you get to go see them again. The Belvedere Winery was fun. A lot of wine was flowing, and the celebrities were pouring the wine for all of us.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was pretty fun. Yeah, it was a good weekend. So, and a lot of times when they do an event, it's not a day, it's a weekend. So
kind of like a little mini conference.
yes, and then they also do a lot of Paranormal 101 and share a lot of
Workshops,
information.
seminars,
Yep.
vendors come out with their gadgets and
Yep.
stuff.
Yes, and it's very interesting.
Okay.
So, and it's a big community,
Yeah.
so there's just not that many of us in the southeast corner of Kansas. So
Yeah, but we do have people here, and
We're here now.
they're here to believe you. So, well, thank you for coming in. It was very
Okay.
interesting looking over all your toys. I look forward to talking with you again and maybe looking at some of your findings and see what you got there.
well, we're hoping to bring you along sometime.
Okay, I'm there. All right, for the Chanute channel, this is Chris Conklin.